Hello. How are you guys? Happy Valentine's Day weekend. I am dressing the part today. I typically don't dress up like this, but I figured I would dress up today. So see my red. I actually don't have a lot of red stuff, y'all. So this has been great. How are you guys? How's your week going? Mine was really busy, like super, but work is over. It's time to really spend time on family and friends and myself. So we're gonna jump right into it today. I have a really wonderful guest, and we're gonna kind of talk about, hey doc, hey Nike, how are you? Hey, I see Vavi. I see her already on the line, so I'm gonna bring her on. But we're gonna talk about how we met, and then we're just gonna like let it flow. So give me 1 second. Let me get. I think she's coming on. Yeah, she's coming. So, hey, lady,
Hello, hello, hello.
how are you? Oh
I'm
my God,
doing
you're looking
well.
so glam.
Thank you. So are you always, always.
Trying to be like you. So, we're gonna tell the story because, I'm gonna introduce her first. Like, I had so many things I wanted to talk about. I was like, okay, slow down, girl, slow it. All right. So this is like my sister from another mother. So I'm going to tell you how we met. So we attend the same church, and she is actually in the music department. So one day I saw her and I was like, you know how like you take like in person we look very identical, like really. And so somebody came up to me and was like, oh, I didn't know Chastity had a sister, and I was like, huh? And then I was walking out of the church one day and somebody's like, hey, hey, and they're talking to me like they're having a conversation. I'm looking like, uh, hi.
Who are
And
you? I
then
don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. And so finally, like it made sense. Like one day I saw her and my husband's like, man, that lady looks like you. And I was like, yeah. So of course I go up to her. I was like, man, you're my sister from another mother. And that's it. Like, it just kind of went from there. And it's great to have you on.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so grateful. And going back to the story of how we met, sometimes you meet people and you just click. It's like I don't know how to describe it, but that's what I felt with you. And so honored when you were like, people think that I'm you all the time. I'm like, "Pfft, well, you're gorgeous, so I'll take the compliment. But yes, so excited to be here. Thank you for extending the opportunity to me so we can chat about love.
I know, right? Love. So you see me all dressed in my love bling. Like,
Yes, I couldn't find, I was like, I need more red in my closet.
me
And
too. I
so,
don't have a lot.
yeah, I was disappointed, but I do have the red lips. So
There you go. Red lip.
there we
It'll
go.
work. You have red lips. I have nude lips. I have nude lips. You have red on. You have brown on. So we're complementing each other. How about
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so we're gonna jump right into it. Can you kind of tell my audience a little bit about yourself? Just a little bit.
Sure, sure. So my name's Chastity. Chastity. I go by Chastity Chanel. I am from Portland, Oregon, but been in Atlanta for many, many years. Went to Spelman. That's where I met my husband. Currently in HR, so I'm an HR consultant. And
Uh-oh. Is she frozen or am I frozen? Oh boy. Can you all let me know if I'm frozen or she's frozen? Oh boy. Is it me? No response. Okay, I'm gonna move this to see. All right, so she's gone. We're gonna get her back on. I know internet is crazy. I typically have to. Oh, really? You may have to like turn off your Wi-Fi. I've realized that when I'm doing these lives, I have to turn off my Wi-Fi, and then I've got like steady internet. Because if your Wi-Fi kind of goes in and out, it's gonna throw you out. So we're gonna wait for her to come back on. Yeah, she's coming back on. Absolutely. She said it kicked her out. All right, cool. Where are you, girl? So I hope you guys, while I hope you guys are having, a wonderful weekend. I'm actually headed out to a soccer game. So like all this glam is because it's raining. So it's going to be washed away pretty soon. My son has a soccer tournament, and that's pretty much what we're going to do today and tomorrow. Like spend time with the family, running around the state, playing soccer in the rain.
Can you see me?
Girl, yes, we
I'm
can.
sorry.
No, that's fine.
So,
Yeah.
do you want me to pick up where I left off?
Yes, please.
So, long story short, I work in HR, but I'm also a blogger, ChastityChanel.com, where I talk about all things motherhood and balance and finding happiness and creating boundaries. And I'm also a professional coach. And so life is really busy. Mom of two, got two beautiful boys with my amazing husband. And I owe it all to God. God is so good. He is the author of my life. He is the reason why I'm here and the reason why I have everything that I have. It truly comes from him.
Absolutely. So I think she's frozen again. This is not good. Anyway, I'm probably gonna have her like I thought Don't worry, y'all. We're gonna get it done. We are. So today we wanted to kind of talk about that global word. Like, love is such, everybody uses it, but there's so many different emotions. Like, I love my children. I love my husband. I love my job. I love my friends. Chastity, do you want to like turn off your Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I'm gonna fix that because it keeps going off. I'm so sorry about that. So
No,
I'm gonna leave and come back one more time, and we should be good.
okay.
Okay,
Okay,
I'll
cool.
be back. I'm sorry, you
Okay.
guys.
So, we talk about love, and I think a lot of times because we don't understand the different types of love, like love for sure encompasses a lot, that we have expectations in our relationships of love that don't match that relationship, right? So she's going to talk about it because her husband's actually doing a study with our youth in our church about just love, like the different kinds of love. So I thought it was great for her to come on here and kind of really share it. But my own little take on it is like agape love is the love, like that selfless love. I feel like that's the love like God has for us. And I personally just don't think anyone is super capable of sharing that. But a lot of times we're asking that of our partners, or we're asking for, when we are with, I've been married for almost 22 years. So sometimes that eros love, which is that passionate romantic love, like you have it, but then you have also this affectionate love that balances itself out. So your relationship is not all the time, like when you first met or you first got married, it was probably more sexual than anything. And as you learn to live with each other, there's a lot more affection and kind of almost balancing that and not regretting. I think that's the other thing too, is that we live in the past and we're constantly thinking, well, we used to, okay, there she is. Sorry. I got stuck in that thought. Like, this is how we used to be like 20 years ago. Yes, it was, but life has changed. And being able to navigate. Yeah, there you go.
All right, we should be good now.
Okay, I was just kind of rambling on to kind of keep filling the empty space. And I was talking about, how love is such a global word.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many different types of love. And as we begin to work on our relationships, I think that sometimes we expect from a relationship a type of love because we don't know they're different, right? So our expectations can be a little different. I kind of started with like agape.
Yeah.
I was like, I want you to talk about I was telling them your husband's kind of teaching on this, so this would be really good. But like agape is something we have with God, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like if we expect an agape from a spouse, like we might be a little disappointed, right? In some points. And so take it away. The different types of love.
Yeah. So agape, to your point, that's the highest form of love. It's the love that God shows us. And so when my husband and I were talking to the kids last week, one of them asked, so what kind of love is it that you have to show a bully? Somebody who's horrible to you, that doesn't deserve love? What is that? And it stems from agape because it requires you to be completely selfless, to love someone who you may not know who still may not be treating you right, or it's kind of, love your enemies, love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's agape, and it truly stems from the love that God has for us. It's the highest form. I'd say in addition to agape, you have storge. Storge is the love that you tend to experience within your family. And what's interesting about storge is there's no commonality needed. We don't have to like the same things, be from the same place. It's not dependent on time. If you think about the love a mother has for her child, she doesn't have to be a mom for 5 years before she starts loving her child. It's an instantaneous thing. It doesn't matter what you look like, your economic status. It's independent of all of that. And that's the love that we experience within our family. Think about siblings. May not be able to stand them at times, right? They may drive you crazy, but you still love them. That's,
amen to that.
That's storge, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and even what's interesting about that one is you can even experience storge with pets, right? You have a dog, they become a part of your family. You can be in storge with them. The next one I would say is philia. So philia is a type of love that you experience with friends. Philia is different because there's choice associated with it. You choose who you tend to engage with as a friend, and that's that philia level. If you think about the city Philadelphia, which is where my husband is from, shout out. It's the city of brotherly love, right? So philia is that type of brotherly love. That's it. Yep. So that's where it comes from. And even I think most of us, we probably all have a lot of friends or people we associate with, but usually when you think about the ones that have a special place in your heart, the ones that will ride for you no matter what, those are the ones that you're in philia with. So you don't necessarily experience that with all your friends, but it's one that you kind of choose, you kind of opt into. And then the last one I would say is, I think it's pronounced eros. That's the Valentine's Day love, right? That's the love that we experience with our significant other, that really deep love with your partner, your spouse. The one, again, we typically see around February 14th. People really honor that one.
Yeah. So, we look at all this love, right? And a lot of people, they associate love with giving. You have to give of yourself and give of yourself. Mm-hmm. I know there's a kind of love that is self-love, right? Mm-hmm. That is so important as well. Yeah. Because you could technically say you love others and keep giving more out of responsibility, mm-hmm. and not, I'm trying to put it, you're giving out of responsibility, but it stops being love and it starts being responsibility. And that's where you start feeling resentment, right?
Yeah. Because it's out of obligation as opposed to coming from your heart, right? Yeah. And so you have to be really careful. And I think that's why boundaries are so important. We are commanded to love everyone, but that doesn't mean you can't have your rules in place so that you can take care of yourself when it's time to do that. It's so important. And I'll be honest, I'm still growing in that area. I have not mastered it yet. Setting boundaries and sticking to them so I can pour into myself. I think I have a big heart for others, and I can over-index on giving my time. And sometimes I have to just say okay, got to pour into me so that I can pour into others.
So I think for me, I've kind of mastered that now. I don't have a problem saying no anymore. I used to. I just say it, but I used to be at the point where I associated loving others with giving and being there all the time. And we just, like Bobby said, mothers have such a hard time putting boundaries. Yes, we do. But if you're being on my page, one of the phrases I say the most is, you cannot give out of an empty cup.
You can't.
No, you can't. So I kind of got there. So I got to a point in my life where I really burned out. I was burnt out. It was just done. I was going through the motions of life. Mm-hmm. I was doing what I needed to do, but there was nothing in me.
Yeah.
And it was so bad because it started affecting my walk with God. Mm-hmm. Because I was almost resentful. Like, why did you give me all these things to take care of when I don't have enough with to take care of it? And he said nothing. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? What's going on, God? Like, come on. Like, we need to have a conversation. And then I remember when it was clear that he was saying, stop. I didn't tell you to do all these things.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa. So I had to learn, like now I had a lot of things on my plate and I had to learn like how to respect, because God gave us time and he gave us, you know, boundaries. He allowed us to set boundaries because it is so. That's why he also sets boundaries in his love for us, right? Because we're a reflection of him. And I think a lot of us forget that. Like everything, for me, everything that is in the word that God does, because he created me in his image after his likeness, I have the ability to do it, right? What would be the ultimate when it comes to cheating and divorce? Somebody's asking the question. Let me kind of finish my thought, and then Chastity, you can answer that. So God even sets boundaries in terms of, you know, I mean, if you look at the children of Israel, like he's like, okay, you've done this. This is outside of what I want for you. So I had to kind of pull myself back in and take care of me first, because when I'm healthy, that's in mind, in body, even in my spirit, then I can give up myself to the people around me, my husband, my children. And that's when everything is in balance. Question, what would be the ultimate in terms of cheating and divorce? Chastity?
So I don't know if I want to make sure I fully understand the question. What would be the ultimate, meaning how do you push through? Or like what's the ultimatum, or when do you determine, okay, love is not enough? I think I need to understand the question, but I will say that is hard. I think because at the core of cheating, specifically, trust is broken. And that takes time to rebuild. And it requires, in my opinion, an agape kind of love to move forward, right? Because you've got to heal from that hurt that you're dealing with. And I truly believe it takes God to get you through that to a healthy place, right? Because you can choose to your point, there's this works concept where I'm doing the work. I'm like, I've decided I'm committing to my marriage despite what happened, but your heart is not there. It's not coming from your heart. It's not really tied to love. You're going to be resentful, and you probably will not obtain true healing if you're entering into it like that. So for anyone who's in a situation where they're dealing with cheating or facing divorce, I would strongly encourage therapy and counseling with a professional to help you push through that. Because for some people feel like love is not enough. And that's because in addition to love, you've got to do the work to heal and to deal with the hurt that's been caused. So it's really important to leverage a professional in those moments to help you get through that healing.
And I agree with you. And I think that because we're all made differently and we all have different non-negotiables in our lives, like we're all different. Like what I take, you cannot take. You have to, I feel like that's the moment, like she said, you have to get professional help, but you also have to quiet the noise. Yes, because you're going to have, like a lot of us girls, we like the opinion of our girlfriends, right? And it's really hard when you are making a decision based on somebody else's opinion. So it has to be so personal that you have to shut out the noise. And a lot of times that's the only way to do it is to seek professional help. Like let out the emotions. A lot of times also you're trying to solve this with the person that caused the hurt. And that's a hard thing to do, especially if the person that caused the hurt is also not taking responsibility.
That right there, that is key. And it makes me also think about, I think cheating is one thing. There's the trust, there are all those issues. But then there are people who might be in situations with domestic abuse. And it's really easy to confuse love with the psychological trauma that abusers might inflict. They may make you feel like, well, if you don't stay with me, you don't love me. I can love you over here while you're healing over there. If anyone is in a situation where they're dealing with someone who's abusive specifically, I think they can kind of prey on that and make people feel guilty and like love looks a certain way. But you've got to, if they don't love you with that agape love, which if they're hitting you or doing whatever, that's an indication that they don't. You've got to separate yourself from that situation. Pray for them as they go through their healing, but they've got to get
So
through that.
yeah, so I do have another saying. Like I have some cliche things I say. I say you can love from afar. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to be in the same room, and you could do this for any kind of love,
Yeah.
except the one with God, because you can't love God from afar. You got to get close to Him. But
Mm-hmm.
every other, like even with family, like sometimes we know our siblings and our parents. Like sometimes it gets there are too many people in the kitchen. Like we need a space,
Yes.
and it's okay. You can love people from afar, and I've had to do that on a personal place where I'm like, at this stage of my life, you're not good for me.
Yep.
And a lot of that comes from us taking ownership of our lives. I think a lot of times what happens also is in the midst of all of this, we don't put the love for ourselves first.
Yeah.
And we put the loves for others. And she put in there, no matter what happens, we'll be there for the children. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, like, I think like if there's abuse in the relationship, I personally think you should be out of there. Like if there's an abusive relationship and you're there for the children, I'm going to tell you, there's been some bad cases where then the woman or the man, whoever it is no longer alive. So you're not there for the children anymore. So there's a little bit of wisdom that needs to be used in that situation and not put yourself in a situation also where maybe you're talked down to and you're dehumanized because that's not the way God sees you.
Yeah.
So I think in the midst of all of this is really, I believe, our relationship with God, because when we truly, and you can speak on this, I feel like when we begin to connect with God, we begin to connect with who He made us to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you begin to find yourself, it's easier to set boundaries,
Absolutely.
to know what's good for you,
to know your worth,
to know your worth, to know if I'm settling. Like you begin to understand. It's like a clarity comes over you. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. I think it's almost like that love of God is not just something for us to experience, but it transforms us. It literally changes who we are, and can impact every other area of our lives. So you've got to start there. That's why I always advise people who are interested, maybe they're single and interested in being married. I know we've shifted now. We're kind of going that direction.
I know, right?
But you don't have to be perfect, but it is so important that you understand who you are, love who you are, because that person that you're marrying is not going to be able to complete you. They're not going to be able to make you whole. Only God can do that. And I think when you come into marriage with someone else, if you're not on that path, it can be really easy it can impact your marriage negatively because you're expecting that person to fill a void that they can't, right? It goes back to that agape love you were referencing in the beginning of the call of the live. So yeah, I could talk on that all day.
No, I totally agree. And just kind of like, I think even in marriage, like for me, I've been married 22 years.
Love it.
And we've had ups and downs, but we are two very strong people, but we also at some point had to do the inner work on ourselves. Like we got married really young. Well, I consider it really young now. I was 24. So we got married. We got married really young. I was not even I was in dental school, so I was not even done. I'm such a different person now. So there's an inner work that is also done all the time. Like the stuff I like then, I don't like now.
Exactly.
My focus then is so different. So that's the other thing. A lot of people would get stuck in loving the person from before. And forget that person is morphing. I call it the evolution of the mind. Like so many things going through my mind. So let me stop. So the other thing about getting married, y'all, like we've moved, and I'm sorry, but I did, tell Chastity, I was like, we're just gonna kind of flow like the way, because I have so many things written down, and we've made a U-turn and we've turned on the other street. But when you married, and she was talking about it and she's what, 7 years married now, 8 years?
So we're gonna be on 6 years married, but together 12 in May.
Okay, so she's younger than me in marriage, so I'm gonna kind of go back and pull things from way back in the day. When you're marrying someone, I think it's so important that you marry not this, that you marry this.
Yes.
This.
Yes.
Because it's so important, because the heart is more stable. This changes.
It's gonna change.
It's gonna change. Go look at my pictures about 20 years ago. I don't look the same. But the key is that you marry someone that has the same goals and aspirations and desires as
Values,
you.
yeah.
Not just the look. Like, they could be fine right now, but if they are not growing with you and they are not challenging you, something's going to change. There's going to be a sense of resentment that either comes in, or a sense that you're not matched together anymore.
Yeah. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. When I think of my husband and I, we are different in a lot of ways. I am more extroverted. He is more introverted, although people don't know that about him. I am like high energy. I know, but he really is introverted, or he leans more in that direction. I'm like high energy. He's very even keeled. I have no patience. He is the most patient person I know. But what's the same is our foundation, our values, the way that we operate in life, our walk with the Lord, right? That's our foundation. And so if that's not the same, then it's gonna cause things to kind of collide in a not so great way eventually. So you don't have to be identical to that person. You can be who you are, but your foundation got to be aligned.
Yeah. And that's why I think also in marriage, like when you're getting into it, because now we're talking relationships, we weren't going to talk this, but there has to be some non-negotiables though.
Yeah.
I think you have to have a list of things that are non-negotiable. For me, it was a man of God. Like you have to have a heart for God. You have to be the king in our house. You have to lead us. Like if I'm tired, you have to be able to pull me up. Like that was important. And then just drive for more. Like you have to be really, like those were the things. And now as we're growing 22 years into it, that's what holds us. Like when you're having a rough time, or I'm just at the point where I say, babe, I just can't. Like he covers me in prayer. And I can tell. And then when he's like, I just can't, babe, I'm like, I got you, babe. And we're moving together. So, it's not going to always be rosy, but you've got that person that is there fighting with you and knowing that you're both on the same team.
Absolutely.
So like even moving to like the Eros love and the philia, I feel like as you like grow, like for us now, of course we've got Eros, there's that sexual part of it, but there's also that affection. Like my husband's my best friend, okay? He's the only one I'm gonna gossip with, like all the time. Like I'll wake up in the morning and I'll start telling him things, and he's like, why are you gossiping with me? I was like, because you're the only one I can gossip with that's not going to get out.
You stuck.
He's like, why are you telling me all this? But like, so we have that friendship, and it's very important because, so most of my patients, like a lot of people know, I see more geriatric patients. So most of my patients have been married 60 years, 65 years. And honestly, like in my practice, I take time, like when they come in together, I'm like, what's the secret? Like it's become like a cliche, but I'm really trying to glean from them. Like what is it? Most of them are like, just know it's happy wife, happy life. We laugh about that. But a lot of them will tell me that it's just kind of knowing when to back down, and trusting that your partner is on your team.
Absolutely.
You're not falling down.
Absolutely. I think sometimes in marriage, it's really easy to operate under this I win, right, frame of mind. So we're having a debate or an argument. I won that one. I lost that one. He whatever. But I think that is such that has such potential to do damage and harm in your marriage, because to your point, you are a team. So what me and my husband, I took this from my parents who've been married for a long time. They have this concept of fighting fair. They have identified kind of the rules for engagement within their marriage when they're having a debate or a disagreement. Don't hit below the belt, respect one another, solve it before you go to bed. Even if you got to walk away for a minute, come back. Don't let the sun go down, right, on your wrath. And so I think that's so important. And those rules of engagement kind of keep you in the mindset of we are a team, right? And we've got to honor each other and respect each other, because listen, marriage will try you. You will have moments.
Yeah. So let me say something about that, but I'll say something and I'll go through the comments. So my husband told me, like, when we were married, like a few years, he was like, all my friends were like, well, I put my man in the doghouse. So one day I came home and I said the same phrase, and he was like, we don't have a doghouse in this house. He was like, that bed is for both of us.
Yes.
He was like, so if you don't want to make up, I'm still going to sleep on that bed.
You can go wherever you want to go. But right.
But that, honestly, like, it doesn't matter what argument we have, he's sleeping on that bed. And typically, like, when he turns over and he hits me, I was like, why are you touching me?
I don't know if you've had the moment when you're like all the way on the edge. Like, I'm in bed, I'm on the edge.
But he'll sleep and then he'll hit me and I'm like, why are you touching me? And then that's it. Like, we'll just burst out laughing and then it's over.
Yeah.
So I think just stuff like that, like you said, like just having those things in place. And of course, let me go through this and I'm going to, they said that love is blind. Trust me, marriage will unblind you.
It sure will. It sure will.
Absolutely. Dr. Faith Brown said it's better to reconcile than to be right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like, I'm so easy. So I'm very strong-willed, like, and but I've learned how to just say I'm sorry. Like, it's not worth it. Like, and also a lot of times it's perception. Like, we say something, it's like, well, I wasn't wrong, but it's a matter of how did he take it? Like, what was your tone? How did he receive it?
Yeah.
But so that's something that I'm still working on. Like, I think it's a lifelong thing. And then I think that's about it. And I think also just not taking yourself too seriously.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Like I'm a boss lady at my job, but I'm not at home. Like I used to want to, so I'm so like my father. Like, I like to control. I like all of that. And I've learned in marriage, like, the more I control, the more he's like, okay, do you? And then I'm like, well, you're not taking care of me too much. It's kind of like, what do you want from me?
Wake up your mind.
So now I'm learning to, like, let him take care of me. Oh, did you put gas in my car? Like, yeah. Like, ladies, come on. Like, do that.
Yeah.
Be needy. Like, it's so
You know what I love on those lines? I am such a fan of the 5 love languages. Now, my husband, he's a skeptic of everything. So he's like, well, why are there only 5? What if there are really 8? But I love it because it provides a framework for understanding how, and this is not even limited to your spouse. This is friends. This is your children. We all have love languages, and it helps you communicate in that person's language. And so my husband, though he feels like, well, is this real? Does this really work? If you look at how he shows love to me and our sons, he is the most like giving. He loves to give gifts and offer acts of service. He will, we had this conversation recently, like he'll put gas in my car, or he'll wash my car, or he'll build them extravagant bedrooms with themes and just crazy. Like, that's how he shows his love. I love gifts, but I also love words of affirmation. And so he didn't understand that because that's not his love language. That's not how he shows love. So we had to sit down and have a conversation. I had to say, when I got a promotion at work, I wanted you to say, great job. I wanted you to, use all these words. And so that is a great framework to help you speak each other's language.
Do you think a lot of us think that, hang on, we know we're with the right person when the person provides safe and nurturing space from which to grow, and as opposed to exploiting those limitations?
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's good.
Do you think that we assume that our partners are mind readers. I think we do.
Yes.
So we have to get to the point where, and this, like, we could go on this conversation forever. In terms of, I had to tell my husband too. My husband is a giver. He would buy the most elaborate gifts, designer bags and all of that. Like I tell patient people, if I'm wearing something nice, it probably came from him because I'm cheap. I ain't gonna buy it. But he's like that. But I like time spent, you know, that's how I receive it. And so for a long time, he'll buy me gifts, and then I got resentful. He'll buy gifts, and I won't wear it.
Yeah.
And it was like, what? Because I'm like, you're not spending time. You know, it was kind of hard. But I think a lot of us actually assume that they know, and we need to get to the point where we have conversations.
Yeah.
And it's so hard. It's so funny how hard it is for partners who are that intimate to have conversations about that, you know? Because you know, when a woman says, let's talk, the man's like, oh my God.
Here we go.
Here
we go. You're so right. I think communication is another component of that foundation we were referring to earlier for a healthy marriage or healthy relationships, period. If you cannot communicate effectively, good luck, right? Good luck to you. And the same is true for friendships. It can be hard to tell your friend that they hurt you when they did something, or you don't like this or that. It's tough, but I know me and my friends, my closest friends, we've had times when we've had to sit down. One of my friends said to me, when you did this hurt my feelings. And it didn't even occur to me, right, that what I had done made her feel a certain way, but she had the courage to tell me. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I meant, but I totally get it. I acknowledge it. I apologize. Same is true for any sort of romantic relationship. If you cannot communicate what you want, what you need, it's not going to be a recipe for success, because to your point, they're not mind readers. And this can be in small things, which this is like a weekly conversation in our house. He'll go out to get food, and I just expect him to know what I want. Like, he'll come back and I'll be like, well, where's my Chick-fil-A sauce? Well, you didn't say you wanted Chick-fil-A sauce, but you should just know that I want Chick-fil-A sauce.
I know, right?
Not fair.
Yeah. But I think that's the same thing in any relationship. Like, I feel like a lot of relationships one of the things that kills relationships is assumptions.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We live in a world of assumptions, right? Like, even look at the political scene, or look at like anything, like you see, even racially, like we see a person and we assume immediately, you know, someone does something and we assume, and we don't really have the conversation. And I think that even as a world, as we discuss love, that I think love and communication go together.
Absolutely.
Like, the only way you can really express how you feel, because if you're withholding your love because someone makes you feel somehow, but you never really communicated that, and in their minds, they're just like, do. They don't know what's going on. Like, there's all that friction and strife that we are allowing to stew because we're not communicating.
Absolutely. It's the core. It's at the core.
Yeah. Cool. This conversation has been great. Like,
I love
it.
You're so prepared. Were you like in college, were you in high school and whatever, in all the school you've done, were you like that student that was like always in the notes, always diligent on it? I'm going to get my A's. Was that you?
So I was. So I was also very introverted. So I'm kind of what you call introverted.
Wait, really?
I promise you. Like, girl, I promise you. I never used to talk. Like, I was really quiet. I was not one of the cool girls. I was much smaller. Like, I hit puberty really late. So I was kind of a little smaller. So I was very self-conscious. I was very quiet, but I was all in the books. Like, I was always top in the class. I went to college free because I had a full scholarship. I went to dental school free. I finished valedictorian.
Yes, ma'am.
I know. So I was like, and that's one of the things. I'm such a meticulous person and very structured. My husband's not. So at some point it used to bother me. Like, I wake up at 5 every morning. Like, my eyes pop open at 5 or 9. My alarm is set for 5:15.
Wow.
It's the same thing. Like, I get up, I do the same thing. I'm very orderly and organized. So if you do something wrong, like Like I go to, if I have a doctor's appointment, I'm there 30 minutes before. If my husband has a doctor's appointment, y'all, he gets there 30 minutes late.
Yeah.
So I started, at some point, I started telling the children's doctors, I would say, hey, when you call to confirm for him, like confirm to
Tell them this time, even though it's this time.
And so, you know, but I've learned like over 22 years to understand that's who he is, right?
Yeah.
And like he's a yin to my yang, and it just works well.
I love it.
You know, he's a lot more spontaneous than I am. I'm very structured. Like, oh, we're gonna do this. We're gonna write 1, 2, 3, and he was like, come on, let's just do it.
Yeah.
So, but you know, it's great to have this conversation and say, hey, you know, but the base of all of this is just God loving us enough to make us, like, the way you are is perfect in his eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not deficient. You're perfect and made in his image.
Absolutely. And sometimes he'll make 2 of you and give you a twin, like Chastity.
There we go. Thank you so much for having me. This has been super fun. And looking in the comments, people have enjoyed it as well.
I know. That's great. And I will send it to you so you can post it on your page. And I'll post it on my page as well. And go to her page, her blog. It's
ChastityChanel.com.
Absolutely. And I'm at drjimacare.com, but you can see me. Of course, you see me on social media. This has been amazing. And I'm heading out to soccer now. It's a little rainy, so I know, but we got to do it. I love doing it. All right, girl.
Take care.
It was nice talking to you. All right,
Bye.
take care. Bye.